Hello. We're going to be back in plenary session very briefly.
Want to say sincerely, Wally, I truly meant what I said yesterday. I'm really honored. All right. Really honored.
If I can have people join us now, and we will get to the facilitators' reports on the outcome of their discussions.
Check, check.
I would like to ask the facilitators to make your reports very brief and concise and to the point, okay? Because if you don't, the people will start to get angry with you because food will be served shortly.
I'm going to use the cordless mic. I'm going to sit over here while I turn out. All right. I have the mic already. Christine itaw? Christine?
Christine. Okay, we're going to start the reporting by the facilitators. I will call the red group. The facilitators are Stan Wesley and Christine Sawanas. If I could have the people in the hallway come and join us now, please. Stan, can you begin your report?
Good morning, everybody. If I'm too long, just start booing, okay? If I'm too long, just start booing. Here we go. Don't boo yet. I just started. So I want to acknowledge my incredible team, Christine, who's just coming in here. Christine, come and join me up over here. That's amazing. So we got two questions. One question was what does it look like in the community? Very briefly, because everything is going in the report, so we're going to get really, really brief. One thing that was mentioned that's really important is it's got to be an exciting process. And it's got to come across exciting, and the people need to do it in an exciting and with energy way, because typically things have been done in a really flat way in the past, so we need to get excited about this process. It's truly a reason to celebrate, so it's got to be positive, lots of feasts, lots of people coming together, supporting each other, and having like groups. So you need to have a group like elders, specific, parents specific, children specific, and you need to have more than just one session per group. You need to have 2, 3, 4, if not 5, because people get thinking and generating ideas, so that's important. And whoever comes in, if somebody has to come in from the outside, it has to be a consistent person or group of people. It can't be different people coming in all the time. Language is important. The most important thing from what we're hearing, if you're doing something with young people, it's okay to incorporate language even if they're not fluent in the language. Miigwech. In terms of the second question, we broke it up into 4 pages. Just really briefly, what methods can be used for children? Play-based methods. Art-based methods. Really, really key. Lots of playing, lots of art, and going where the young people are, which is in school. Youth, a little older, teenagers. Again, language using a combination of land-based and technology-based. Lots of movement, dance, sports as well. That would be great. Peers presenting the information. So if you're having the group of people who are in the communities, the group workers, you can train up some young people to do some peer type of training and consultations, and having some speakers coming in, that would be amazing. We also have a parent and adults. Come on, Christine. We need to have sessions that support parents. So it would be nice to have some babysitting and some play group as well, just to make sure parents are there and able to support. Again, cooking, feasting, social interaction means a lot. Language, community dialect, and some trust as well. It takes time to identify trust. And no silent voices, and that's important because everybody's lived experience matters. We have one member that says she doesn't have Western education, and we keep telling her, your education, your lived experience is way more valuable than Western education. In terms of elders, we need to assure the elders that history won't be repeated, and this is a good way forward, because we've been promised so many things in the past, and those broken promises are so prevalent in our communities. People don't trust engagements. We need to keep telling people that this one's going to be different. Lots of language, food, storytelling, history, focus groups. That's us, Team Kimuch, all the way, Kimuch!
Thank you, Stan and Christine, for that presentation. Viking Room A, that's Blue, Charles Mikas, and Susan Chapman. If people can make your report. Oh, there it is. Okay. Oh, that's, I got this thing mixed up. That's Marilyn, Lynn Murray. I better stop calling your names.
As long as it's not a bad name. Oh, miigwech, we're just zooming along here. Oh, what? Our flip chart's not here, Emma. We gotta wing this, May. Again, I want to really say how much I appreciate the voices that were in our room. We had about 15 people who built up their courage and they spoke their voices. And that's what we want here is to, there's 25,000 voices to be heard. 25,000 spirits that need to be expressed. So that's sort of a theme that I took in with there. And, when we were going around the circle a little bit, it was really important for the elders to express themselves in that they needed to understand what language we were speaking. So one of the themes that came through is that our communities are so used to being part of the white man's world. They don't know what change is going to be. And we're just starting to break out as a community out of that circle of living as reserved people. We got to break out of that oppression mentality, expand the spirit of who we are. Health transformation has to be more than just explaining what health transformation is and what it means to the community members. Health transformation is a way of life. We need to get away from the idea that transformation is going to be understood by people who live on the reserve, who lived their lives on the reserve. Because honestly, there is a different way of thinking. And there's also a different way of thinking for people who've been educated and assimilated and colonized off reserve. There's high expectations when you go away to school, really high expectations when you want to go back home. I know where my heart is. I know where my spirit is. I want to go back home and I want to help flourish the spirit of our communities. And most people who do want to do that. So we need to work with the knowledge keepers of our communities. The knowledge keepers know the history. And what I heard was that, you know what? It might be a couple generations before people really understand the truth of who they are. We cannot stick in the same cycle, in the same mentality. We need to make sure young leaders are also invited to these knowledge keeper circles. Because us older leaders need to pass on the knowledge. We're getting, the people who are in our circle, they're getting at an age where they recognize the wealth and the wisdom that they have, and it needs to be transferred. It needs to be heard. And it needs to be heard in the language, because when you speak the language, it has a different spirit. It has a whole different meaning. So it's really important as a method that we start off really young, in grade school, in the language. What does it mean to live a life before the roots were uprooted? I really like this one. We got to use our smoke signals. There's one time that our people knew exactly what each others were thinking about and how things were done through smoke signals. And if you can't grasp that concept, there's more learning that needs to be done in how the language is spoken. Conferences, just like what the previous group had mentioned, conferences. people meeting each other and listening to each other. Using home visits. Home visits are really important. Also, the radio stations at the community level. It was pointed out that, you know, some of the elders in the communities, all that they do is turn on the radio and they listen. And then they take their radio, their black radio, and they talk. They talk and they share their points of view. That has to keep on happening. Somebody mentioned doing YouTubes. Having our own, the people in the community writing their own scripts. Doing YouTubes and that kind of social media. There's all kinds of programs. All kinds of programs have workers, different kind of workers. Maybe they need to go house to house, door to door. Those who can speak the language, go and visit and talk. The key here is developing trust among each other. And today, to be honest, someone said in that room, to be honest, we don't trust each other. We tear each other down. And so it's really important that we, I don't know, trust each other, respect each other's voices. Retreats, go out on the land, go camping, go and sharing around the fire. Those are things that will facilitate the spirit of our communities and our people. Emma, do you have anything to add?
How many minutes? Požovače, ovo kaki kitoče je inga kontoahkoan jiisuinen taavana vaasissak či kenomoin ta oiga vihtuutsigaatteik oigaattassinsigaatteik ja Kema ja gejma achievement dosh kniga gottinga mama openanon conferences oiga gaina biengtu nokkan ga totamang nungum sitagonen dosh kniga gevino chinunda moajanin nachigane wang oetni gana ningene totrate go akosi mechigevin miga ikkitoajanenta egotaske gachi gohtajiang ke gunchi tuutamang kino and gochiniga gue tuutamang ega me moechi chi gohtanene mang anin kai nakone going awete chugma gotinga inachigech ega natok ega ge gunchi tuutamang ko gai going ega iwerchigi tuotaman giban chigi kakoi bas gui itsoing giban go kina ente iwerchiniga go tuotaman ge gun gawi tuotaman ega me mas chapena monantawan gich awete gichog ma bishik chi mosch tuotama going ke gunan mi we kai kitwach ananta ega taske Maawachigwe gihkitwa oshke agmagawi tapmangitwa chigakweta gunenda gevinawa ego ishigishwevin chigakweta gunegatek iechke kagi pina tisyank kontawienga kagi ke kai chia intanahkamagisiang iech tuotamange gage gunatukshwana igueng gawana iwemagak ego ke gano gishag chiga gano undamonen da ima ya ink ke tuinen gan chiga gano monet tuach ya it noch kan kai taman black radio no goma batan ima gan chiga gano monet tuach gano gishag ma tawinin kayawach miwe ga ke tuach gano ga giwitab mangeta miwe.
Oh, and also what Nan is doing or did a couple months ago, keep doing it.
Thank you. We will go to Scandia room, the greens on this side here, and that's Charles. Charles Group. Charles Mikas, Susan Chapman.
Good morning, Bonjour. Miigwech, Gidnawa, Miigwech, Dinag, Awanug, Kawin Damwaj, Nin is Ejimamad Nedamwaj, Iwanun, Gewun and Gawajmunda.
Good morning. So reporting from the Green Group with regards to the two questions about how are we going to have the 25,000 people address. Excuse me, sir. Thank you. I only want this page. So I'm not going to repeat everything that everybody else has already identified with regards to what methods are we going to use to get this information or collect the information from the communities. But what I am going to say is that the two key items that we have identified is number one is with regards to organization of the engagement, as well as coordination of the engagement. We talked about wrapping up the information into the education system so that we can target the kids in the school. We talked about the advance notice going into the communities well in advance, like 30 days, 60 days even, possibly, just so that we can start to bring in awareness to the community as to what the process or what the information is that's going to be delivered. And to ensure that we have community-wide communication. We also talked about the utilization of social media, target groups, focused discussions, use of incentives, refreshments. We talked about all of that. Working together with the federal, the provincial, and the PTOs. One of the key points was with regards to transparency of the information that's coming into the community, about having the community know what it is that is going to be discussed. Because you have the same information that goes to the top, but it doesn't get disseminated down to the community level. So then when it comes time for the engagement to take place, you have the people saying, well, I don't know what it's about. So the key is to make sure that you have that advance notice going into the community so that the community knows what is going to be discussed. And when we talk about coordination, we're talking about coordination at the community level, at the SLFNHA level, at the NAN level, with regards to this information that you want the community to be aware of. We're talking about identifying training and resources and the immediate needs. Getting that champion out of the community, making sure that that person is trained, making sure that that person has complete awareness of the information that you want to have discussed at the community level. Looking at collective videos, having them translated, whichever translation you're using, for instance, Cree, OG Cree, or Ojibwe. Again, it's all about education. It's all about SLFNHA having that coordinated approach. If we're going to look at community engagement, how are we going to do that? We can't just say, okay, let's have it discussed at the SLFNHA level. We also need to engage the community on how that's going to happen, right? Use of community newsletters in syllabics. Someone to come from out of the community at NAN Tribal Council with a larger vision. Leadership has to support at the local level the engagement process. There was a challenge, the challenge is, and here's an example of a challenge. 7 years ago, Health Transformation said that they would do 4+ visits into the community. It's been over 7 years, and they've only had one or none of the planned visits. And then when we're talking about engagement in the communities, we want to make sure that the communities receive the full scope of the engagement and what the intent is, because you'll have somebody come into the community, they'll come in, land at 1 o'clock, and then expect to be on a plane at 4 o'clock. That's not going to work, because if you want engagement, you need to be able to do it at the timing of the community, not be dictated by schedules by airlines. And you have to keep talking about it. You have to keep bringing it forward, keep bringing it forward, keep bringing it forward. And yeah, overnight stays in the community, very much welcomed. And if you don't have a place to stay, I'm sure there'll be people out there who are willing to billet you.
Okay, just sorry, just one last thing. So there were a number of themes that were repeated, and there are reasons why that happens, because certain people feel really strongly that these methods, that they, apply these methods, and yeah, miigwech.
We'll now go to Scandia Room, facilitator Anna Marie Kagamic and Pearl Namakwa. Okay.
Yeah. Wajak, bonjour, ane. Mangi kakita malabang gani na untuma. Agi an mo tam kanaba tamang pande ng agi minukwang. Chakaraba chakata kani jagwetonan. We had a good discussion, great feedback, and collaboration within the 2 points that were given to consider this morning. I will briefly go through each the commentations that we had. We don't really have much time to go through it in detail. In response to number 1, what does community engagement look like in your community? So we took that and come in kind of like a holistic approach as well. So one of the things that the commentations were and feedback is to have leaders to introduce the process to the community members, so to ensure that there's understanding of what is going on, to make clarification, and also to share that perspective, what the big work is about and what the big picture is. So bringing that information to the community members, ensuring that there's a comprehensive environment in that sense to ensure that all the community members understand what the work is. And also another comment that was made is that health transformation tends to be very complex. So our recommendation in that sense is to use Maminachigawan, and that's one of the recommendations that was made to kind of define and clarify what HT is, health transformation as well, and what the community engagement is. Leaders understand the information before it's disseminated to the communities, so we need to clarify that as well, ensure that there's a holistic understanding of what the process is. To have a clear concept and terminology, and that's an extension to what I've mentioned earlier. In terms of working with the elders, elders tend to have a tendency to use stories. So as a facilitator or someone working with the elders, you need to have that skill to understand, to disseminate and extract the natural elements key elements within those stories. You have to have that knowledge and skill to be able to do that. There's a structure that they use, usually in the historical context first, what the current situation is, and also what the end goal will be. So we will need to be able to kind of learn. We'll need to fundamentally to learn that skill as well. Find community ways of gathering and story sharing. And the reason why that was brought up, there's a diversity of culture in each community. There's different values, different ways of doing things, perspectives, and customary practices. To be able to supply our communities with current structure that are available in different sectors, so that we need to bring that information what's available to them and make them and ensure that there's an understanding of what those different services level of services are. And also there's another feedback on meeting people where they are. So we have to be mindful, be cognizant, and understand that when there's a CE happening, a community engagement happening, that we need to understand and know where the community is at. There's a tendency that individuals or members of the community may not be comfortable and sharing in a large community setting. So we want to be able to accommodate natural settings that are, it could be out on a land, it could be in a teepee, it could be in a small session. So we want to be able to be accommodating that way. To provide a specific space to listen to stories, like a listening time, like to be able to listen to those stories and extract and what those messages are. And moving along, different methods that we can use for to extract or kind of like bring in those feedback. They talked about social media, peer-led groups, understanding storytelling, language, and unique ways of learning. So those are different methods that we can use. There's another one that we all agreed in is health transformation bingo. So that's another kind of like community engagement, kind of an interactive session that we can use. And also bringing in and educating that communities have voices and have that power and freedom that they can disseminate what they want and share within the scope of the work. We also have the utilizing service providers who have a relationship with various groups in the community as well, and also a separate session with the youth. Education and training to be available to understand customary practices, and also several team approaches and understanding about historical perspectives and social history and stuff like that. So another last piece I want to add is the inter-community in exchange. So kind of like maybe in your own region, bringing your communities together to kind of collaborate and what that community engagement will look like, what your transformation looks like. Mia kanawaga John Jekitian, Mia Mikwas Katukuna, Amats Gain Nanakumaka Sector.
Thank you very much. And the last group, Hounoring, and that is James Morris and Carla Duncan.
Hi, good afternoon. So a lot of the stuff that was shared from our, the past couple groups was already basically a lot of what was shared in our group. There's about 8 pages and I don't want to read them all. It's lunch. But I just wanted to share that basically what I got from our group was it has to be community people that live in the community in different ages, like somebody that can work with the elders, somebody that can work with the youth, and then also having support from like Solocout, like somebody to support them, and then all these community-based workers to be a support to each other. And like it's possible because I live in Muskrat Dam, and I'm very thankful to be given that opportunity to work from Muskrat. That you know, like in order for us to get as much engagement from each community, because each community does different things. We're not all the same, and they all do their own different things for each group. Like children, we had I don't know, we had like 20 things listed for each age. We put them into categories of adults, elders, but it's like most of them were home visits or going directly to wherever they are. Like for school-age children, it would be mostly at the school, or youth, it would be like camping, or like if I want to do any events in the community, I have to reach out individually sometimes. Like I'll have to reach out directly to an elder. I have to go hunt them down face to face to describe what we're doing, what kind of meeting it is. Because when community engagement people come into our communities, we don't even see the announcement till it's already happening. Or like we don't even know what's going on unless you spell there's KFC, and so everybody will come, but we don't know what it's about. Yeah, so it's all being recorded, all the stuff. Like we had 2 recorders in our group, so it's all going to be shared, and he'll be summarizing it for us, and they'll be using it for their from like recording this conference. So I don't want to take up all your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Those are the 5 reports from the different groups, and we're going to be breaking for lunch very shortly. The exercises you have to remember is that we're shifting the parameters of consultation to reach 25,000 people. And that is the task that we're having. A lot of good discussion, a lot of good ideas. And as I think about talk to people, you know, it's going to need people. It's going to need resources to do it. So with that, after lunch, we're going to be addressing bringing health services closer to communities. MACAT will be making a presentation at that time. Let's get back at 1 o'clock. Yeah, 45 minutes for lunch, okay? With that, let's break for lunch. It's all set there. Thank you.